morning, everybody. Welcome to coffee. I know my last coffee I had with you was like an hour long. I'm really sorry about that. I had a lot to get in to 1 hour of time. I knew I was going to be a long one. I think my longest coffee I did back in the day was 40 minutes. I can yak forever, can I? So, hope everybody had a good week. I thought, that one is all about kind of like big things that were going on in my life, and I'm like, what did I do that was fun? I did lots of fun stuff too, and I didn't mean to have it sound like down or depressing or anything like that. It's a mix of everything in your life, right? So I did a lot of traveling when I was off of YouTube, I guess, this last 4 years. Not only all the stuff that went on normally in everyday life that everybody has with work and family, but I did get some traveling, and I kept doing my vintage camper rallies. Even after COVID, I got to do my rally because the mandates and everything just came off the beginning of June, and my rally was later in June, so I was still able to do that. So I did my rally in June, which was really great. I have taken a trip with my cousin and my nephew to Las Vegas, and it was kind of a Las Vegas trip, and because he hadn't seen a lot of Las Vegas, and we went to the Grand Canyon, which was fantastic. That was a wonderful trip. We drove out there and did the South Rim for 2 days, came back, did the Hoover Dam, which was really neat, and then did a little bit of Vegas for my nephew, who had been through there once but not really enjoyed or seen it or whatever. So we did that, and then I've done that. Oh, and we also did the Fire Valley tour. I had done it before. Neither of them had, and it was well worth it. I've been to Vegas, I've been to Fire Valley and Red Rock Canyon, which are both really neat. Someday I'd like to go to Bryce Canyon and to Zion. That will be another from Vegas trip I'd like to do at some point. We did that. We went to Viva Las Vegas 26. I was going to take Gary to that because he's always wanted to go, but he had some health/physical issues the year Viva Las Vegas 26, so he didn't go. So Christy said she'd be more than happy to escort me to go with. So me and Christy went to Viva Las Vegas 26. I had also gone to Nashville in the fall, one fall, which was really fun. A lot of historic things. The music was wonderful. Went down and did the Jack Daniel's distillery. I don't like whiskey, but I went for the history of it. That was a wonderful trip. Went down to Lido Key for one trip with my cousin, did a little bit of kayaking, saw the sights, a lot of walking around in the beautiful sand beaches, and looked at the beautiful yards and houses, and just gorgeous, lush area. Picked up some seashells, and that was a nice little long weekender. And another time I went down and did Siesta Key, so Lido Key, and then Siesta Key would be the next key island down the shoreline. And you probably have heard of Siesta Key. That's a big spring breaker area, and beautiful. The sand is made out of I think a white quartz, so it never gets hot. White, beautiful, beautiful sand beaches. Got to walk that whole, I think it was like 6 miles that one day. Went down to Rock Point, and I'm not quite sure if that's the name of it. Got to take a fun boat. It was a boat, but it was a giant pontoon in the backwater area there, and just got to see the housing and some of the historic things that were back in there. Got to see some manatees. That was on my bucket list, so got to see some manatees. That was phenomenal. I was very happy about that. I like to see them closer. I know you can go up the north coast up past Tampa. There's something springs, Solon Springs, Silver Springs, that they kind of gather up there, and you can go snorkeling and see them, and they're right in the water. Oh my god, because they like the warmer water. So if you go down there during our winter vacation months, you might not see them too terribly much. When we saw them, it was April, I think. So the waters were warming up, and they were a little bit more accessible to see. That was wonderful. So did Siesta Key. Let me think here. What else? So Vegas, Grand Canyon, Viva Las Vegas, Nashville, Lido Key, Siesta Key. Is there another one in there? Oh, Mexico. I took a trip with my nephew Rich to Mexico, Playa del Carmen, stayed at all-inclusive, which I'd never done before. That was really neat. Got to see the Mayan ruins that were in Tulum, the ones in town. Did some snorkeling and see coyotes It's Cenotes. Cenotes. I could say it like a half hour ago. I think I could say it now. So we got to go some snorkeling, got to see a lot of tropical fish. It was all inclusive, so all your cocktails were included. Took a ferry because we were right by the ferry on Playa de Carmen. Took the ferry over to Cozumel. Got to see the sights of the city. Walked around there a little bit. Took a little pub crawl, bar hopping thing, which took you way over on the other side of the island, which isn't really inhabited. It's all natural land, natural resources. But there are a couple little teeny bars that are right on the shoreline over there, and it has a whole different landscape. Got to see some of the wildlife. Got to see some spoonbills, which I think he said were the national bird, the spoonbill, and they kind of remind you of a flamingo, but they got that long beak, then it's kind of rounded at the end. So I got to catch one of those. You know, if I get to see a different bird or something, I'm totally excited. So those were all we were down in Mexico for 10 days, which is a long time. 7 would have been done me good, but how can you complain when you're in the beautiful tropical area down there and stuff? So that was a wonderful trip. And then me and Christy took a great big massive trip. It was almost a 2-weeker, and we went to Iceland, which was phenomenal. We hired a private guy for a whole day and got to see all the things we wanted to see. Got to see the hot springs. We didn't go to the Blue Lagoon, but we did one that was like from the late 1800s. It was out in the country, and the hot spring water was coming right in. There's a couple signs, but not like the signage and the barricades and what they expect people to be smart over there. They don't have to tell you 8 million times, that's hot. And there isn't like a barricade. You could go right up. You could get scalded if you didn't watch it. So that was really neat because you felt like you were back in the day. And that was a big public type, huge pool. It was like kind of like a limestone pool. And there's like little teeny hot pockets of geysery, like the hot water all around the place. You could walk around it, and then the water dumped right into this pool. So you'd get up close as you could, just get hot, and you'd back up a little bit. And then we went and saw some glaciers. We saw where the continental divide was, where the tectonic plates meet. We went and saw some old volcanic areas that had lakes where the crater was. Then we saw didn't see any reindeer. Those are more up north, and they don't have a lot for animals there. They don't have insect problems. There's no screens on the windows or anything. They don't got the bugs like we do. The only critters they had some type of I think maybe a rabbit, that might not be right, and then the Arctic fox, and then the reindeer, and then that's it. They don't have like the 8 million critters like we do over here. In Ireland is the same way. They have a few more, but not like the diverse amount of different animals and stuff that we have here. So the Iceland was fantastic. We got to drive down because it was private. He says, "You guys got time?" And we're like, "Yeah." So he drove us down to the south part of Iceland, and we saw the black sand beaches. We got to see where the latest, from like the month before we were there, where the latest lava flow was. Drove us behind the Blue Lagoon. And what else did we see? Oh, we saw the something falls, the Floss Falls. Got to see, it's like a different tiered, it's kind of like, they call it the Niagara Falls of Iceland. That was fantastic. So that was that. We were there for 2-3 days. We flew over Dublin, spent a long week in Dublin and saw all the historic sites. St. Patrick's Cathedral, the Dublin Castle. We went down to Temple Bar area and saw all the historic bars. We went to the Brazen Head, which is like, I think, oldest bar in Dublin, or tavern or saloon or whatever. That was from like 11 something. So like over 1,000 years old. It's been there in some shape or form. And you walk in and there's no heat. There's no air conditioning. Everybody just wears jackets. We noticed that too. There's like not thermostats in the places that we stayed. This is what the heat, put an extra blanket on. We're so thermostat crazy over here. And a lot of times we go in there, it's chilly and the windows are open. There's no screens because there's not the bug problem. In Ireland either. Very few bugs. We didn't see anything, maybe a couple. Iceland's zero, so because it's kind of cold. So we saw all the great sites in Dublin and got a bunch of soaked in the culture and just sit and listen to people talk. That was really neat. Met some really interesting people. And then we got in, it's called the Vagabond Tour Group. We took that, and then that was a 7-day tour around Ireland, and we went from Dublin over to Galway, and that was like 4.5 hours. It was like 5-hour drive to get across Ireland. And did they say that was it Ireland's the size of Indiana? I think so, maybe. You know, the southern part of Ireland, not the northern part, which is part of the UK or British, you know, part of Britain owned or whatever. So we went over there, went to saw the Clifton Moors, we saw Cashel Castle, we saw the Blarney Stone Castle, we saw our Blarney Castle. We went and saw a lot of natural things. We stayed in a castle. We also stayed in like kind of like an inn, and it was, is it Dugan and Baron? That's not it. Dugan Baron or something Baron. Anyway, it was like an inn that was in this little valley that had a lake. It had a little chapel. It was like kind of cliffs. There's a national park if you kept going. There was cliff or steep hills all the way around. And once the peat bogs that are on top of these, because, you know, Ireland's got peat bogs all over the place, got saturated, then it was, when they're so saturated, then there'd be waterfalls all along the cliff sides that came down. And it was just magical and mystical. And it was raining and misty out and stuff, but you didn't care. It was so unbelievably beautiful that you didn't mind the wind and the rain and the little bit of cold. We came prepared. We came prepared for all of the weather in Iceland and Ireland, be it cold, windy, rainy, wet. We had everything possible in our backpack and our carry-on. I was so proud of us. We did so well with our packing. We did small luggage so we didn't have to lug it around and have to deal with all that. Our backpacks got kind of heavy by the end of the trip, but it was wonderful. So that was 7 days. You kind of stayed at a different place every night. Breakfast was always included and wherever you stayed. And then you did all your tour stuff and everything, and you had free time also. When we went to Galway, I went to the place where the Claddagh rings originated in, I think, 1700s or something. And I bought myself I would have loved to have a gold is so expensive right now. So I got a sterling silver one, but I would have loved a gold one. Just that I got, and it wasn't that bad, around $100 if that. Maybe it was 70. I can't remember. Anyway, I thought it was a decent price, but it was sterling silver, and I was okay with that. Just the fact that I got an original ring at the place that it originated, at the original store. That was wonderful. Did buy a lot of souvenirs anywhere, just like little trinkets. My souvenirs were my bazillion thousands of pictures that I had taken, and then I did, of course, have my picture album, an old-fashioned picture album that I made when I came back, so you could sit down with family members and enjoy the pictures and talk about them and share and stuff. I know it's nice to watch it on big screen for everybody to see, but it's also nice to have that cozy sit down on the couch where it's kind of more of a connection and more of a sharing thing and more personal that way. I love picture albums. Any holiday, I will bring out picture albums from way back and bring them out, some stuff that people didn't know or see or whatever. Just a good way to remember stuff. So we went straight across, went down to southern Ireland, back up, saw a lot of castles and castles. There's lots of castles in Ireland. And then we also went and saw the did I say this already, the Neolithic burial areas, when these are like from before Christ. So these places that you go, that, and it's you probably have seen pictures of these great big massive rocks. I mean, like they're both, massive, 8 feet tall, and then there's 2 stones and then one on top, and like I said, it's from before Christ's time, and it's a burial site, and we got to be there. I mean, the stuff in one of the castles we saw, there is stone carvings of like Knights Templar medieval stuff right into the stonework from back in the time. I mean, it just boggled my mind that we saw stuff that was from before Christ, that we saw stuff that was 1,000 or 2,000 years old, or some of these old houses that were standing, that were abandoned, that were stone houses so they never fall down, are 1,000 years old, or 800 or 600. Just to see that, we don't have that type of history in America. You got to think about when we came over here, 1492, the Sea of Blue, when we came over, of course the Vikings were over here before us, but whatever. But Columbus and the Spanish and all of that type of stuff. We're a young country. We haven't been here that long, but it was really interesting just to see. I mean, I was in tears sometimes in some of the places that we saw. When we went to St. Patrick's Cathedral, I mean, it just washes over you. It's a sense of something that you can't even explain. Or when you're in the Dublin Castle, and that's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years old, and you can see the courtyard, and you can just imagine the commerce and the businesses and the horse and wagons and stuff that were down there, or somebody sitting in a pub 600, 700, 800 years ago having a beverage with their buddy or friend or a local or another traveler. Like I said, it was such a once in a lifetime experience, and it was a perfect trip, even with the weather or whatever. And I was sick for 3 days, and it was still a perfect trip. I mean, I saw so many things I've wanted to see my whole life, and it was just wonderful. So I would pit stop in Iceland again. What we saw all the things I wanted to see in Iceland. They were all a magnificent. You know, and Iceland is a newer country. If you think of population and people, there's not old buildings and historic buildings and stuff like that. Not like Scotland, Ireland, England, like that. You know, it's a young country, population of like 350,000, which mostly live in the big city of Reykjavik. We were in a little suburban area that didn't have a lot of people at all in it, which we loved. We just walked around the neighborhoods and just got a feel for how they live over there and stuff, you know. So that was really neat. But the history when you go over to Ireland and like some other places that were anyway, when you go to Ireland, it just brought tears to your eyes. The cliffs some more, and the peat bogs, and just not only there's anything from palm trees too. It's such a lush, succulent, rich land because of the airstream and the Gulf Stream or the oceans, whatever. They have a very temperate climate there where they can plant palm trees and they grow. Or they have succulents all over the place, or bushes that have plants growing on top of them because it's just such a rich, fertile, moisture-rich area. So it was just blew my mind. Like I said, the things that we saw, like I said, the I think it's Neolithic. I don't know if I got that right. Burial tomb, thousands of years old. We saw like not a monastery. It was called